Welcome everyone to Blockrocket monthly pitch event organized by Disrupt Network. The event will start shortly after my quick introduction about the event logistics. So as this event is going to be big, everyone is going to be muted except for the speakers. If you have any question or suggestion during the talk, you can scan the QR code here and exchange it. And then owner startup founders can also join this group to answer the question from the event participants. That is from my side. I hope you enjoy the event today. And now I will hand over to Benjamin to start the event.
Fantastic. Thanks, Alex. Then also a quick hello from my side. Since we do this on a monthly basis, I don't want to go too much into what we do. I think most of our viewers already had some touch points with us. So just a really quick version. I'm Benjamin. I'm the managing director of Blockrocket. We are a small VC firm operating from Germany that invests in blockchain startups. We have ticket sizes ranging from 100K to 500K, so pre-seed and seed. Our sweet spot usually is around 200 to 300. We do 10 to 12 deals per year, so deploy around 1.5 to 2 million per year, and are especially well connected within the German and Central European ecosystem in terms of different stakeholders. This is a selection of a few of the companies that we invested in the last 12 to 18 months. As you can see, we invest across different industries and sectors as long as there's some association with blockchain technology or at least the crypto ecosystem as a whole. So ranging from crypto trading companies to gaming and NFT, more traditional finance applications, a lot of NFT segment, insurances, so a whole range of industries, and accordingly also very open to new business models in the years to come. Fortunately, I don't have to do all the work for myself, so I have a great team that shares the work with me. I'm sure that most of you have already had some touch points with some of my team. In the future, if you're looking for funding yourself as a founder, or if you know anyone that is in the early stage space themselves, then feel free to reach out to us, and we're always happy to connect to new founders and new ideas. So far, so good from our side. Just quickly for the logistics. So we have 4 startups today that will pitch 5 minutes each with a 5-minute subsequent Q&A session. And at the very end of the event, as always, we have a voting live, which is 50% by the audience. So there will be a poll function where you can, as a participant, vote for your favorite startup. On the audience, the jury that we invited today will also do a voting separately, and then 50-50, and we will announce a monthly favorite, as we do always in our monthly sessions. And before we start with the first pitch, I would like to give the opportunity to our jury members today to quickly introduce themselves. And as always, I would suggest we start with Wolfgang with a few sentences.
Oh, Benjamin, ladies first.
Okay, sorry. Fair enough. Then we start with Mona. Yeah, good point.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mona. I work for Tokentos Investment AG, which is a company that is based in Frankfurt, but I'm right now in London, and we also have one person in San Francisco, and we have a particular focus mainly on DeFi protocols and infrastructure players in the blockchain technology space, and we only invest in Web3 companies. And I'm very, very excited to be here and looking forward to hearing all the pitches of these 4 very exciting startups.
Cool, thanks, Mona. Then second would be Judith.
Hello, everyone. I'm Judith, and I'm a consultant at the LSE Group. So the LSE Group is a 6 billion private equity fund. We come more from the traditional side, but lately we've started adding blockchain companies. So we tend to focus on projects where we can be a bit more of a strategic investor or rather strategic partner rather than just an investor. And we have a prominent background in real estate and medical technology. So we like seed to more late stage companies, invest up to 1 to 2 million per ticket. And that's in companies in Europe, in the Middle East and US.
Fantastic, thanks, Judith. And last but not least, Wolfgang.
Yes, and finally, good afternoon from Frankfurt. I'm the head of venture capital at BlueJay Founders Group, and you also saw my name here on the Blockrocket slide. I've been enjoying the venture capital industry for almost 20 years now, and I believe that the timing has never been better for great founder teams to start something new. And I'm very glad to be here today with my fellow jury members, Mona and Judith, and excited to hear from the pitch candidates. And obviously, Fong, do you notice I put on something green because we received this green background, so I hope you appreciate it.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
I truly appreciate it. Okay, thanks a lot. Then we changed a little bit to order today because we have Sherry from BlueJay Finance. She's in Singapore, so it's already midnight on her end. We appreciate that she took the time, nevertheless, to be here today. So, Sherry, how about you start sharing your screen, and then we can start with your pitch right away.
Sure. Can everybody see this?
Yes, works well.
Awesome. So just to start out with some introductions, I'm Sherry, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of BlueJay Finance. We are a stablecoin protocol that is focused on Asian currencies. So to set a little bit of context, so we're at this pivotal moment right now in the crypto space where, for the first, 100 or so million users that are coming in, it's been a lot of focus on trading, on volatility, speculation, but we're actually seeing a lot of early majority users that are coming in through some of these new mainstream verticals, especially in a region like Asia, where you're seeing, people coming in through gaming, GameFi, as well as, other spaces that are coming up that are quite exciting and providing things like employment opportunities and access to finance in a way that people have not seen before. However, there's still a massive friction right now when it comes to 100% dependence on USD stablecoins as the main denominated currency for stablecoins. So the types of challenges that people who are using crypto are facing are things like foreign exchange risk, where their native currency might move against the US dollar. Number two, inefficient and high on and off ramp fees when it comes to moving money in and out of crypto. And then finally, more of a psychological thing, just lack of familiar unit of account. If you are somebody in the Philippines and you've been transacting in pesos your whole life, buying a bag of rice thinking in pesos, it's hard to kind of switch that to USD. And so we want to provide that supply of Asia-based local stablecoins to kind of meet some of these challenges. In terms of market opportunity, we see that this is something that is going to be worth up to 70 billion by 2025. Now, of course, as a percentage of the overall stablecoin market of 1 trillion, it's still just a start. But right now, the USD market is extremely saturated with many different players, whereas there's still an open playing field when it comes to the non-USD stablecoin space. So now I will move on to the design of the protocol itself. And so at a high level, what we utilize, which is an innovation on some of the existing stablecoin models like DAI with its over collateralization model, or USDC with the reserve model, is that we actually utilize something called protocol and liquidity, which basically allows us to bootstrap into our treasury a set of stablecoins that will eventually be able to back the stablecoins on the DEXs. For example, pools of DAI and Singapore dollar stablecoin, or DAI and a Philippine peso stablecoin. And so we do this through something called bonding, which is existent in a couple of other different DeFi 2.0 type of protocols. The other piece of this is that we will design this so that we will also end up owning a large part of the liquidity ourselves for the stablecoins. So many of the challenges when it comes to non-USD stablecoins, especially when they're kind of new and being seeded, is that if there's any capital that kind of exits the pool and it's a very thin, if there's very thin liquidity, then you're not able to facilitate very effective trades, so that when we actually own most of the liquidity within the protocol, we're actually able to sustain that much more. In terms of price stabilization as a algorithmic stablecoin, it's quite important to be able to have a mechanism there if the price of the stablecoins change against their FX rate as fed in through price oracles like Chainlink. So what we'll do is utilize something that we call a stabilizing bond that will effectively use open market operations, basically tweaking the supply of the stablecoin on each of the sides to basically either reduce the buy pressure on one stablecoin or increase the buy pressure to just bring the stablecoins back to the price peg. Next, I'll talk about the the distribution for the stablecoin. So it's going to be a multi-phased approach for us in terms of how to get the stablecoins accepted, as well as exchange in different places. And so the focus for day one is going to be enabling basic liquidity when it comes to the DEXs and the CEXs, especially for CEXs. It'll be more of a regional type of focus. So we'll have not only looking at exchanges like Coinbase, but also Coins.ph in the Philippines or CoinHako in Singapore. And so this will be the flywheel that gets things going on the growth side, but we also want to find places where stablecoins can operate as a medium of exchange in these new DeFi verticals that are bringing in new mainstream users into the space. And so this is looking at stablecoin distribution within things like GameFi that help, let's say, an Axie player be able to cash out from SLP into Philippine peso fiat, or even help people actually be able to borrow and lend, borrow NFTs to be able to play in the games. Now, in a much more future-oriented sense, we'll look at more, potentially traditional fintech use cases, more institutional. But in terms of, education as well as regulatory alignment, this is a much longer-term journey that we'll work towards. But that will unlock, the next level of TAM that the space really hasn't seen yet in terms of stablecoin utility. In terms of our fundraising, this is actually the second institutional round that we've raised. So we've done a pre-seed round of 300K with 2 investors. And what we're raising right now is a seed round of 3 million. And so this is a structure where we have both equity as well as, a token warrant structure. And the way that we'll be giving out, or the way that the token will be vested, will be on a supply-based basis that converts as the token supply actually grows for the protocol. In terms of the team, we actually cover a pretty broad base of experiences. So on my side, I come from more of a go-to-market fintech background. So naturally really think deeply about how payment systems are really going to evolve in the future, especially with technologies like blockchain and crypto. As for my CTO, he comes from a background heavily on the crypto native and the blockchain side, having been a developer in GovTech, which is the tech arm of Singapore for many years. And we have a set of folks that are also on our team as well, across tech, design, etc. As for where we are actually about a couple weeks out from launching on our test net. So our main net will be on Ethereum as the first layer 1 that we'll be on. And soon after we launch the protocol and bootstrap that liquidity, we'll be launching our first stable coins, starting out with the SGD, and then moving on to the PHP, or the Philippine peso, as a secondary market. And so we will essentially have these two as our playbooks. So Philippine peso will be much more focused on some of the more retail, like GameFi use cases, whereas for Singapore, much more kind of focused on what can be the longer term institutional play, especially with Singapore as a financial hub in the region. Now, as we expand beyond Ethereum, we'll be looking at holistic ecosystems within different layer 2s to understand where can we, maximize the most amount of utility and distribution for each of these different stable coins. And then once we have that playbook set for the two currencies, we'll look at expanding across the entire continent, essentially from Japanese yen to Indonesia rupiah, etc. And so this is, what we're doing at BlueJay. Our goal really is to make DeFi and crypto more accessible to more and more people around the world, so they can fully, tap into the benefits of open finance. That's it in terms of the deck. I'm happy to, answer questions or dive into any particular area a bit more.
Thanks, Sherry. Then we have around a little bit less 2 minutes for Q&A. So maybe 2 or 3 questions from the jury.
Okay, maybe then I'll just go ahead. Thanks very much, Sherry. Amazing what kind of energy you have around midnight. You are a true founder. So I guess the question that I would have is, I mean, you're tackling a super important but also super complex subject. What gives you the confidence that you will not be facing major regulatory hurdles that might block or make it very complex or very expensive to launch your stable coins?
Yeah. So this I have to give a little bit of background on how things really work in Asia when it comes to this, right? Like in terms of regulatory framework and crypto, it's still quite nascent. But one thing that is advantageous for us is that we are located in Singapore, which is seen, so MAS is seen as a bit of a beacon for the rest of, I guess, the market in terms of regulations. But really, I think it's about relationship building over time. And so, and getting into those conversations proactively. So what we are planning on doing in any of the countries where we even think that there is a time frame of maybe 2 years that we'll launch, we will work on bringing in advisory people that have been very, very close to the regulatory bodies or have navigated it from different aspects to bring into, bring into at least our team from that advisory capacity. And so is regulation going to be something we have to navigate? Absolutely. How do we do this? It's through building those relationships and having those conversations over time, and overall kind of bringing more and more people kind of along the way, educating, really like allaying what would be some of the, top line bullet point kind of concerns when it comes to these types of novel currencies and technologies.
All right.
Thanks.
Quick follow-up question. Otherwise, okay, I think looks. Do you have a question, Mona? Or
yeah, I would just a little not directly related, but I would be interested. I'm not sure if you've mentioned this, but how does the competitive landscape in the space look? I understand you're saying about 2 years until things are in the right, well, in the manner that you propose this to be probably the biggest player. You want to be the biggest player in the space, but do you see a lot of other players starting to want to do the same thing, or is there even already a player in the market within the Singaporean ecosystem that is directly potentially taking away market share from you?
Yeah. So, in terms of the landscape, there's very, very few stable coins that are decentralized in Asia right now. So all the ones that exist. So in Singapore, there is something called the XSGD, is all a 100% fiat reserve-based model. So some of the challenges that they have in terms of scaling is that it's very, it's not like, they can launch a protocol and then bootstrap that liquidity, right? They have to get the proper licensing. They have to have a banking partner do that. So there's a lot more involved. So it's much harder to scale. And they've been around for a couple of years, and they've only been in one market, and now kind of Indonesia as well as in the beginning. So I would say there's not really another decentralized player here. Now, as for the decentralized stablecoin ecosystem, are we worried about somebody turning around and saying, hey, we're going to start building the Singapore dollar, Philippine peso? Not too worried actually either, because there's so much local nuance that's actually required to be able to execute this. Launching a stable coin technically is not that hard, right? It's about building the liquidity on the supply side and then building the use cases on the demand side. And to build the use cases on the demand side, you have to understand, when talking to hundreds of Singaporean, Filipino, or Indonesian users, what kind of pain points need to be solved with a stable coin. And so we're situated out here, we're talking to the people, incorporating those types of insights to make sure that we have the right distribution. I think it's much harder to do sitting out of Silicon Valley to kind of think through that.
all right, fantastic, thanks. I have to wrap it up on this part. Thanks a lot for your pitch, Sherry. And then I would suggest we move to Puru from NFTicker next.
Thanks, Benjamin. I'll just start presenting my screen. Let me know if it's visible.
Yes, full screen works well.
Great. So good evening, everyone. A very great thanks to Blockrocket for providing us this platform to talk about our product. So I'm the founder of NFTicker, an NFT analytics and portfolio tracking platform. So we help users analyze trends, identify opportunities, and generate profit. So we all know, right, 2021 was the year of NFTs, especially PFP projects. And now 2022 is shifting more towards play-to-earn games and metaverses, all powered by NFTs. Even after all these developments, users still don't have tools to help them answer the two basic questions in NFT investments. How do I decide which NFTs to invest in? How do I track my NFT investments? The core reason for these two questions are the industry problems that I'll talk about in the next slide. So in terms of the industry, owners hold NFTs across multiple wallets and blockchains. The NFT investments are of very high risk with a huge risk to reward ratio. On top of it, the on-chain data is complex and hard to convert to a consumable format, even when it is freely available and accessible by everyone. Investment opportunities gets lost in the vast sea of marketplaces and NFTs. So would like to talk a little bit about how we came across where we are as of now. So I and my fellow founder Rohit, who's my batchmate from the 2019 batch of IIT Kharagpur, were initially building an NFT marketplace. While doing it, we decided, hell, let's start investing into NFTs and see what the hype is all about. When we started the journey, we figured that there's a big gap between the valuable NFT data and the NFT investors. And we sought on to this journey to try to solve this gap. In terms of the product, right, we look at it in three different segments. The first segment is the Explore section. Here, we provide the overall market analysis and trends for the collections in the market. We have NFT Sniper to help you snipe investing opportunities and upcoming launches to look at the new entrants in the market. All of this combined with a marketplace aggregator closes the loop for a user to quickly close a trade they like. Now, once a user has invested into NFTs, they want to know or want to track how their investment is going on. So we want to provide users the portfolio tracking platform and also provide them deeper insights into their spending, revenue, and their inventory value. This will empower them to morph their trading and investing strategies based on the investment history and their performance as well. Now, all of this sounds good, right? But there needs to be something that can help people stay on top of the market. This is where we provide a mechanism to stay up to date with the market by facilitating following of whales and friends, NFT activity wall, and customizable real-time alerts on any NFT collection or wallet directly to their Discord, Telegram, or Slack. All of this packaged around with our MLAI scores and pricing models will ease the entire journey for the users. Now, the X factor here, right, is not this product. The main secret sauce that makes this product much more valuable is that it should work across both EVM and non-EVM chains. It is very important for a user to look at all of his investments across blockchains rather than having to dabble in multiple platforms for different blockchains. Also, being blockchain agnostic provides users cross-chain NFT opportunities, facilitating the branching out of users to the various blockchains. Even so, the initial MVP that we are currently building will be for Ethereum, Polygon, and Solana, and will slowly branch out to cover all the top NFT blockchains to provide the maximum support to the NFT investors. Looking at the market, right, our market potential is directly proportional to the NFT volume and the wallets invested into NFTs. As the NFT volume increases and more users come into the NFT ecosystem, the demand for a product will increase, and it will serve as the backbone for users to plan and track their investments and portfolio. For 2022, we have calculated a serviceable obtainable market of 25,000 wallets covering over 1 billion in NFT volume. Converting these wallets to user, taking a conservative approach of 5 wallets per user, that translates to 5,000 users who will be using our platform by the end of 2022. Now let's talk about the competitive space, right? This is where we divided the market into 4 specific quadrants. On the vertical axis, we have on one end the EVM chains and non-EVM chains on the other end. Along the horizontal axis, we have market analysis in terms of the explore and launches, and we have user analysis personalized for a user in terms of portfolio and alerts. Now, as of now, users need to dabble across multiple memberships of multiple platforms to satisfy their needs. And even then, the user experience is very haphazard, and assimilation of this data for the user becomes even more difficult. Me and Rohit, we sat down and we watched around 20 to 25 videos of NFT influencers trying to teach people how to invest into NFTs. And the red signal went off as soon as we saw all of them talking about minimum 3 to 5 platforms across all their videos. That is the reason why we have built our wireframe in a way that provides users a seamless flow and provides analytics in layers rather than overwhelming with numbers, tables, graphs, left and right. Talking more about the business model, we will have a freemium model where certain analysis is free and users have to pay a monthly subscription for access to the premium features. Once traffic to the website crosses a specific threshold, new marketing channels will come in as in terms of promotions for featuring collections, faster onboarding, and acting as affiliates for marketplace. Now, this is where we structure ourselves and call ourselves the L0 of the product. The L1 of the product is when we start playing around with this data and create models and APIs to help other dApps. So the idea is to create an NFT pricing model which can go in as an input to the B2B players in terms of players that provide NFT-backed loans, that provide NFT fractionalization, NFT staking, etc. We also want to come in with public APIs, subscription-based, that other decentralized applications, communities, DAOs can use and build products on top of it. Last but not the least, we wish to provide people tax reports for all of their NFT investments so that they are able to track all of the investments that they have done, what are their tax liabilities, and accordingly pay them off. Now talking about the team, as I already talked about, we are two founders who started this company. I worked at Flipkart for 2.5 years in the grocery e-commerce category for India. Rohit worked at Goldman Sachs for the same period in the portfolio health and loss forecasting for the Apple Card. We know each other since the first day of college, from being classmates, hallmates, roommates, and all living together in Bangalore. Additionally, both of our work in our previous job had revolved around looking at big data, structuring reports and metrics, driving actionable business insights, implementation of those initiatives, and performance tracking, which positions us perfectly to solve for this gap in the market. We are currently building our MVP and looking to do a closed beta launch by the mid of the next month. In terms of fundraising, we are doing a $500K pre-seed round at a valuation of $70. Thank you. I would like to open the floor to questions.
Thanks, Puru. Yeah, do we have some questions from the jury?
I'll go first, actually. Thanks for the pitch. It's actually a very comprehensive list of features. It's nice to see the sort of aggregator for NFTs as well. Having said that, obviously there's quite a few projects or products for non-NFTs out there. What stops the big players from incorporating all the features that you have? Obviously, all the information is publicly available on the blockchain. What are the barriers to entry for competitors?
Sure. So in terms of data, right, there are two sources for which we get the data from. So the first source is the blockchain itself, and the second source are the marketplaces that provide us the floor price, listing price, and all those sort of data points. Now, in terms of the crypto players that are there in the market, there is a way in which they structure their data. The fungible token transactions instructions are quite different than what non-fungible tokens actually account for. So any bigger player that wants to come in definitely has the resources to do it, but the amount of time that it's going to take them to build a product ground up will be similar for anyone who wants to enter the market, either being a bigger player or being a smaller player as well.
So how do you know there isn't anything else in the pipeline already from the bigger players that maybe hasn't been published yet?
Sure. So in the past 2 months, right, we have actually experienced a lot of the players that are there in the market. Frankly, I think we have spent together around $800 to $900 just to try out the premium features. And when we looked at the players, right, in terms of B2B enterprise level players like Nansen and DappRadar, they are focusing more towards the B2B end of things, wherein they want to provide analytics for institutionalized clients, and they're not focusing on marketplaces for that matter. They're majorly focusing on the blockchain data that they're able to drive through their resources. In terms of B2C players, which I just talked about, these players are actually very rudimentary in the way that they understand the user, right? Having data is one thing, but getting that data across to users is a whole different story. For people like us, analysts, it's very easy to understand data when it's presented to us in a slide or presented to us on a web page. But for a user who's fairly new to all of this and new ecosystem, it becomes very important to provide them data in terms of layers, wherein users are able to objectively ask themselves questions. Do they want to move forward? Do you want to go back? Is this metric actually helping them compare those metrics? And I think that is where we will be able to add value as compared to what the larger players or the other players in the market will not be.
So
right.
Maybe, sorry.
Any other questions? Yeah, Mona, feel free to go ahead.
I just wanted to double check I understood this correctly. So essentially it's kind of like almost like a SaaS solution that I pay a subscription for that then helps me to track my NFT portfolio, but also helps me to figure out where I would like to invest in terms of my NFT or the collections that are out there.
Spot on, Mona. That's the exact thing that we're trying to do.
Okay. And can you, how do you make money? Besides the freemium model, you mentioned there's going to be a subscription for people that are using you more often, or how does this work? Okay. So why would people go and pay you when they can probably access what they need in a freemium model?
Yes.
What is
so the
what is
reason that
special?
Correct. So I think that is the question that both of us asked ourselves as well. And we looked at all the market, how it's currently going on around. Like, people can use the free features, but those free features or the free collections that we provide to them will only help them to an extent. In terms of NFTs, because your investments grow very quickly, having a more quantitative and objective approach towards investing helps you make much more money as compared to speculative trading. So a report by Chain Analysis also showed that users who used certain tools to objectively and quantitatively invest into NFTs made much higher returns than people who followed the crowd by going on to Twitter, Reddit, and doing speculative trading that people started when the bubble initially started on. Yeah. Also, I think one thing that I skipped in the pitch that I did not want to mention there, but I would like to mention now. In terms of the business model, right? What we feel that the data in itself becomes a very big moat when you keep expanding into this business scale. And to improve the market, where we see 2 years, 4 years down the line, we can also get into NFT small cases, wherein we provide people small cases to invest into NFTs to getting stable returns, rather than them having to take all the risk on their end. We can also start asset management for institutionalized clients. And along with that, right, there is a huge requirement for such data for brands, companies, wherein we can help those brands figure out which land is the most conducive for them on a decentralized land, or which design of a particular t-shirt is being sold maximum or worn by the maximum number of users in a metaverse. So as soon as we go into metaverse and we use the real utility of NFTs, the data becomes, I would say, infinite. And all of that data can help these major brands, players, take much better decisions on how they want to structure themselves for their clients.
Okay, but who's your target user base? Because you mentioned businesses, DAOs as well. Is that more for serious collectors? Is this more for NFT flippers? Is this merely for art, music, etc., NFTs, or for other use cases as well? Who do you anticipate will buy this?
Sure. So we are going to market with the traditional collectible collections market that is currently out there, but we are trying to focus more on the metaverse and play to earn collections, where we see the value developing in 2022. We are also currently trying to talk with certain gaming guilds and understand what their data requirements are, because those are the exact users who value this data more than anyone else could be. But yes, answering your question, the initial users are crypto native people who have a NFT portfolio of greater than $2,500 to $3,000, who won't have paying such a nominal fees at a monthly subscription. And slowly and gradually, we want to be a B2C to B product, wherein we are also able to help enterprise clients because we already have the structured data with us.
Fantastic. Then I would say, let's wrap it up at this point. Thanks a lot for your pitch, Puru. And of course, any follow-up questions, also to the jury, we're happy to connect with Puru afterwards. Yeah, thanks for your pitch.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Next one for today would be Jason. Jason from NOIZD. Can you hear us, Jason? And now it's full screen, yeah. Go ahead.
Awesome. So, hey, what's up? I'm Jason. I'm co-founder of NOIZD. We are the NFT music marketplace, bringing Afro music creators to the Web3 space. So why are we focusing on Afro music? Before we can answer that, let's take a look at the landscape. So Web2 Afro music, seeing 38% year-on-year growth in both global revenue and global streaming figures since 2018. Afro beats, Afro pop, in the top 3 fastest growing genres globally. Web3 Afro music on the other side, less than 0.5% year-on-year growth in new musicians and new music, with Afro music itself contributing to less than 3% of all Web3 music. So why is that? We've identified the problem. So Afro Web3 music creators, they struggle to find entry points into the Web3 music space. This is due to a lack of Web3 education, as well as a lack of platforms that champion them. So simultaneously, we found an opportunity here, an opportunity for a marketplace and community that not only provides them with the Africa-specific Web3 education needed, but also provides them with a platform that champions them to allow them to go past their specific barriers to entry. So that's where NOIZD comes in. So we continue to create a community of African musicians. We provide them with the necessary Web3 education. We provide them with manual onboarding into the Web3 music space. We provide them with a marketplace and an economy whereby these musicians can meet directly with collectors, fans, and investors, for their transactions, buying, selling of their NFTs to take place. So what's our traction to date? So we launched in November last year, mid-November. Since then, over 1,900 users. We've had over 500 listings on the marketplace. We're highly curated. So right now we have 300 plus verified artists, a bunch more in the backlog. We have over 170,000 streams on music that's already on the marketplace. We have over $85,000 in sales gone directly to the musicians as investments into their NFTs. We have over 85% of all our artists coming from the African continent. Bearing in mind that these numbers are growing daily / week on week, month on month. So what makes us different? So we find our differentiation in the saturated market in two spheres. Sphere one, community. We are the only platform that is highly experienced in the African music space. We're also the only platform that's plugged into multiple African communities throughout 35 different countries on the continent, reaching over 100 million people. On the product side, we've got a bunch of things here. I won't tap into all of them right now. I'll focus on the three major ones. So we have custom artist profiles and marketplaces. Essentially, an artist can come onto NOIZD, can build or create their own marketplace within NOIZD to host their own auctions under their own URL. So it essentially becomes their own marketplace. We also have a syndication to streaming platform model. So this is whereby NFT music holders can submit their music NFTs to us. We distribute them on major global streaming platforms like Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, pay out the royalties 100% that we receive directly to them on NOIZD. We also have things coming up like fractional ownership, fractionalized investments into future royalties. And as I said, a number of other things that we can go into afterwards if you have questions around those. So what's our business model? So right now, zero fees, zero commissions. We're doing this strategically in order to drive adoption. Once we've reached our critical user mass, we're going to implement our 12.5% tiered commission model on sales from buyers and sellers. We also have crypto economic incentives, including our future token. So our token will be around platform payouts, royalty payouts, governance, a number of other things. So a bit about the team. I'm not going to touch into everybody. We're all full-time. I'll focus on myself and my two co-founders. So myself, I have quite a mixed background of experience, marketing, hospitality, private equity, and naturally music as well. My co-founder, Aidan Masnitsky, he's been developing in the blockchain space since about 2014. He's founder of Snowfork, one of the world's leading blockchain research and development groups, just done the bridge from Polkadot to Ethereum. He's also a technical advisor for a number of blockchain VCs, including 1KX Fund, and he's directed and led teams at Dapper Labs, Swish, and Gigster. Mika Friedland, my other co-founder, cross-industry experience as well in machine learning, data science, neuroscience, software engineering, having led AI firms in Silicon Valley, such as AI.tribe, and also led teams at Universal Music. So what are we raising? Why are we raising? We're raising 1.5 million for 10%, and we're raising it to complete our roadmap, as well as to help us with marketing. So Q1, we've already finished the integration of different L2 scaling solutions, such as Polygon, should be live within the next week. We're busy finishing up AVAX. We've got Scale coming up as well. Custom artist profiles are done. Custom marketplaces almost done. Open market economy, essentially we're the open sea of music NFTs coming up. And then throughout the rest of the year, things like fractionalized NFTs, our token release, our syndication functionality, artist tipping, so on and so forth. So that's what we're raising. That's why we're raising. We like to call ourselves NOIZD, by Africa, for Africa. And yeah, we look forward to making an even bigger dent in the current NFT music space. So yeah, that's who we are. Thanks, Blockrocket. I'll hand over to anyone for any questions that you may have. And yeah, let's kick it off.
I'll jump there. Thanks, Jason, for that. Question on the target market. I was looking at the website regarding pricing, and per item, I wasn't sure if that was per song or per album. It was between 0.15 to 1 ETH. So obviously that's not cheap. Is this for the album? Is this per person? What is the pricing structure?
So right now we only do one-of-ones, so that's per song. We are going to be doing multi-prints as well. And the reason why it starts at 0.15 is because we're baking the gas fees into the NFT price. So essentially the buyer is paying the gas, which makes it more attractive for the artists to join, and it's not up in the buyer's face that they are actually paying the gas. But as I said, once Polygon support is done, we'll be having a lot cheaper NFTs. But right now, also good to point out, we have a 21 to 23% successful sales rate as well of all NFTs listed.
Okay.
Thanks very much, Jason. One question is, I mean, there are several startups tackling this issue, and you are focusing on Africa, which would certainly make sense in terms of focus. In your mind, what are the key issues that really have to go right in order to make NOIZD a success?
Good question. So I think that there's quite a few key issues. I think one of the biggest key issues is being able to not only combat the kind of Web3 education barrier within the African market, but it's also to be able to almost stimulate the wider market to get past the thought that NFTs and NFT music are, you know, kind of like filled with rug pulls and cons and so on and so forth. But I think that that's a battle that could be won. That's probably one of the biggest battles for us to date. But we do see like the rising kind of, I guess, the rising want to invest in various products coming from Africa as something that's playing greatly into our favor. If that answers the question, I think it does.
Partly, but I think the whole answer would be too long for this format. Thanks.
Sure, no worries.
Any follow-up questions left? Yeah, we have time for one or two more questions if you guys want.
Great. I also have a question, Jason, regarding the actual, you know, how it works. So if I'm an artist, do you also help me with marketing of my music? Do you quality check if I'm actually good at what I do? Is there some sort of, you know, criteria that you use to A, check that you really have, you know, high quality content on there, and B, that maybe some of the artists who are not knowledgeable in marketing or maybe don't have the funds to do the marketing, do you help them?
Yeah, for sure. So with regards to the marketing side of things, so I have another platform. It's an MPO. It's called Panda TV. It's a digital distribution channel for African artists. So with every artist that's on NOIZD, I also plug them through to Panda TV. As I mentioned, we are partnered with a number of African communities as well, such as Empower. Empower has over 2 million YouTube subscribers, as well as Trace TV and Channel O. So yeah, we most certainly do help out with the marketing. Sometimes we even take over the entire marketing, as well as doing paid promotion on different socials for them. So that's to answer that question. You had another side of that question. Could you repeat that, if you don't mind?
Oh, well, on one hand, do you help them with the marketing? And secondly, do you quality check?
Right, of course. Yeah. So yeah, we're actually highly curated. That's why we only have 300 verified artists. We have a bunch more in the pipeline, but we're very, very highly curated. So we've got quite a big team that goes through each artist. We check out their social profiles. We do KYC as well to make sure that the artists are who they say they are. And yeah, so very, very highly curated. We also deal with the selling of the music rights, which means that we have to be more curated than other platforms. So yeah, so that's how we vet them. Naturally, everyone thinks that, you know, their taste of music is the best. So we do also have like community votings and stuff like that. So operate a little bit like a DAO in that sense. But yeah.
Fantastic. Then let's wrap it up at this point. Thanks a lot, Jason.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Awesome.
And we would move to the last bit. Last but not least, we have John from Delic Network.
Hello, and it's nice to continue the music theme. So we're a startup, and our vision is to empower all creators to make the most of their time, creativity, and work in the new music economy and Web 3.0. I'm John Maxwell Hobbs. I'm the CEO and chair of the company. We're currently doing a £1.5 million seed round. We are EIS qualified for anyone who's investing in the UK, and we're doing this via Safe Notes. So we're offering ASAs at a discount initially. So we have identified a problem in the industry. And we've identified that because all of the founders are musicians, among other things. Creators are not systems integrators. And why do they have to be systems integrators? Well, today, in order to create a piece of music, you have to use a whole range of digital tools, not just the recording software, otherwise known as a DAW, digital audio workstation, but you need to be able to share files and communicate with your collaborators. And it becomes a whole alphabet soup of WeTransfer, Dropbox, Google Drive, Facebook Messenger, Slack, Zoom, et cetera, and it takes just a huge amount of time away from being creative. Now, thinking about Web3 and the big push toward decentralized operations, well, the music industry has been decentralized and highly decentralized for about 200 years, and that's its problem. This is a peek under the hood of our platform. These are all the relationships between the nodes just of a single song. This is the song No Substitute Love by Estelle. It contains video files, audio files, and in this section, the publishing rights and the recorded rights, which are held by a number of different individuals and a number of different companies. This activity generates 13 different negotiated licenses for the work. You'll see how it's all connected via black lines. Currently in the music industry, those black lines are handled by email, phone calls, messengers. And when I say messengers, I don't mean digital messengers. I mean people on bicycles moving papers back and forth. You have to have 100% sign off for any use of anything. So we have the solution, the Delic platform. It's built by musicians and it's the creator hub to build music's future. This is where you can ideate and collaborate, organize everything, automate, assign, network, grow, and earn. We have two scalable streams of revenue. We have a creator subscription of £5 a month or £50 a year, and that's compared to if you were using Dropbox and Slack just to get a small set of our features, you'd be paying £16 a month. And then at the end of this year, we're going to be rolling out an enterprise subscription for labels to support catalog and asset management. We have a team who are all musicians, also with a wealth of commercial experience. I have experience as a musician in New York and a sound engineer. I was also head of technology for the BBC in Scotland, and I was the chief information architect for Ericsson, where I was one of the architects of the mobile internet. Our CTO was a lead developer at Oxford for all of their application development, mobile application developments, and was the new media director for the Exploratorium in San Francisco. Our chief marketing officer is the former managing director of the fashion label Catherine Hamnett, and currently is the founder of The Right Project, a consulting firm in the fashion industry focused on sustainability. Our chief commercial officer, Will Howell, is a founder of the largest student event company in the UK and has done business development for companies such as Hutchison. It's a huge market opportunity. If we start with the smaller circles and look at the dark blue and the lighter blue, that's what was spent on music by consumers in 2019, 21 billion. Close to £1 billion of that was spent on artists without a label. And actually, Universal Records just announced their earnings and they made $10 billion last year. Now we look to the markets that created that work. Production tools, that's software, instruments, recording hardware, and other elements that go into making music. 22 billion was spent. If we look at the wider creative industries, it's a 2.25 trillion pound market. We've looked at the positioning, and as users, as musicians, we know where the pain is. And we've identified a gap in the market. And that's somewhere between collaboration and file sharing and ownership and rights management. And we sit right there. Consider us a mix between, a cross between Slack and GitHub for musicians. Our timeline, we're live now. We have our beta out. We started prototyping in 2018, bootstrapping up through the end of 2019 when we launched our MVP. That's when we raised our first significant amount of capital investment. We've raised £650,000 to date. We're still closely held by the founders, so there's a lot of room left. Our investors are industry angels and VC funds such as Velocity Capital Advisors, Evenload, and Invotech in the UK. And as I mentioned, we're doing a 1.5 million seed round, which will take us to version 2.1 of the platform, which handles release management. And from our research will take us to good product market fit so we can begin charging for the platform. Again, this is your opportunity to invest in tomorrow's music today. Once again, £1.5 million seed round. The use of funds will be to increase development headcount to reach product market fit. And to the blockchain developers out there, we are looking for a lead for our blockchain work. We're also going to accelerate our enterprise deal and member onboarding with that fund. And thank you.
Fantastic.
Now
Thanks,
open
John.
to questions.
Thanks for the pitch. Maybe before we jump into the questions, now is the voting session for the startup. So I would ask Alex to launch the poll for the audience. And for the jury members, I would ask you to use your sheet now and already fill it out. And once you fill it out, you can already start asking questions to John if you want.
John, maybe I'll just kick off. It does show that you worked for the BBC, and that's so nice to hear. I was wondering, besides financing in your market, what is the biggest hurdle for you to become successful?
One of the biggest challenges is being able to work within existing systems. Music is the closest industry that you'll find to being a regulated industry without actually being one. It's governed by legal statute in commercial law, copyright law, and what a lot of people don't know is criminal law as well. So the road to music technology is littered with the bleaching bones of technologists who've come in and thought that they were going to sort everything. Disruptive activities, if you do wrong, will land you in jail. So what our advisory board is very deep with members from Warner Chappell Music, Telegram Records, 11 Advisory. We work very, very closely so that we can ensure that we can bring the existing music industry into the future.
It's like a legal minefield in many areas.
It absolutely is. The laws go back 400 years.
Thanks.
Actually, speaking of legal minefield, on your website it says drop it into Delic and it's registered as your creative contribution. Is this also a way to protect IP?
Yes, we register contribution throughout the entire process. As you contribute to a project, when you've contributed, what you've contributed, and the percentage that it is of a project is registered and recorded. There's a huge problem with metadata in the industry right now. And there's a new organization, the Mechanical Licensing Consortium in the United States, that is aggregating data from all of the various publishers. They launched this year and they announced that 80% of the data they have is either corrupt or incomplete. And the data is the only way you get paid.
All right. Do we have one more question? We have room for one more question in case you guys want to know something else. Otherwise,
maybe to jump on that, would you say then that your main competitive advantage is the team's strong roots in the music industry, as well as your knowledge of how to navigate through the legal framework with IPs. Is there anything else you would classify as being a strong competitive advantage over any other player that wants to enter the market?
Our strong competitive advantage is not only our experience as musicians and in the industry, but also from technology. As I mentioned, I was one of the architects for the mobile internet at Ericsson, which is a regulated industry. I launched the first third-party developer program for the telecoms industry, which had been unbelievably closed. So it was very interesting to navigate that as well. But we believe that we're incredibly strong in being able to translate that knowledge into a technological architecture.
All right, then thanks for the pitch again. Thanks for everyone participating today, so for our jury members, but also for startups. We make it quick and short. I think we had a few really good pitches today, and the audience vote was quite a close call. For the jury one, it was a little bit clearer. So our monthly favorite for this month is indeed John from Delic Network. So congratulations. Reach out to you on a separate note and write a quick wrap up about the event and
Thanks so much.
do a bit of advertisement for you. And yeah, and otherwise for everyone who's listening, our next event, we have these monthly pitch events, so they're on a monthly basis. We also do have one panel per month. So our next panel will be in 2.5 weeks. We will talk about venture capital funds and have a few prominent VCs on board. Looking forward to that already. So feel free to sign up. If you have any questions, looking for funding, as I pointed out before, feel free to contact us. And again, thank you to jury, to startups, and also to my team for organizing the setup. And see you guys soon. Bye-bye.